Brad Williams, XL Prime. Here's a case where absolute value can be used. There's no harm, no penalty. We're just setting a threshold. Let's look at this. We have a test measurement. We have the required measurement. All we're going to say is if this measurement is greater than this particular measurement, it's a failure. Here's the threshold. Whatever this test measurement must be within 0.05, high or low. If it's not, it's a failure. If it's a failure, well, let's see. If absolute B5 minus C5, we don't want a negative number here, right? Because our threshold is 5. Here, we're going to go B5 minus C5. Well, what happens to B5 minus C5? That's a negative number. Less than equal to D5. Did we tear this apart? Well, let's look. So B5 equals B5 minus C5. All right, there's a negative number. Control down. You can see if you had two thresholds, you could avoid the absolute value, but you have one threshold. In other words, you could have a negative and a positive threshold. It's two different columns. But here we just combine it. If we hit F9, if we didn't have absolute value, what would happen? Probably still a failure. Let's look. Is that going to kick out? If absolute, it's going to throw an error. Here, it's a negative 27, and you can see it passed. But look how big the threshold is. With that absolute value gone, we're saying anything 0.05 or less passes. Did F9? Now there's a threshold. This is 0.04. That's what it tested, but it's required at 0.45. And our threshold is 0.05, and we hit OK. That's why we use absolute value in this particular case. Here we have 0.31. And that other one was negative 0.48. Well, it failed. F9, let's find something. We have a negative 0.03, and it's within this threshold. All right, it passes. Negative 10, it fails. 5.1, failure, pass. Well, 1, 2, there's only 4 tests, and we have 5 examples. Okay, so that's wrong. So this one should be true. Failure, pass, and fail. Right, there's a perfect example of why you would use an absolute value. You can read up here, but I think my illustration here would probably answer your concerns. If you want to know how to read this, if absolute value B5 minus C5 is less than or equal to D5, okay, that means if this number is less than or equal to, we know now, because this is not absolute value, it could be in our little test here, it could be negative up to negative 0.5 or positive 0.5. And you can see 4 failures. F9, there should be 3 pass, okay? This is lower than 0.05, negative 0.5 in this example. But here, because it's an absolute value, it can't be any greater than 0.05. Anything greater than 0.05, it fails. Brad Williams, XL Prime.